He picked up a rusty sword, just a piece of metal buried under the sand. No glow, no power surge, no thunder in the sky. Just a tired mercenary reaching for something, anything, to keep going. He had no idea that this simple act would change the fate of a planet. Ashar was brutal. 2 suns overhead, endless dunes below. The heat was the kind that cooked thoughts right out of your head. Darren Kell was on his last legs. Hood pulled low, jacket torn, canteen almost empty. 3 days walking. No food, no backup, no weapon. Everything taken from him after a job gone sideways. He should have known better than to trust foreign traders. They promised easy credits for escort duty. Just one more gig. Instead, it was a setup. His squad, good people, dead in seconds. The oasis turned into a bloodbath. The memories stuck with him like sand in his boots. Gents, Talon, Lida. Gone. Novedades. Just names blowing away with the wind. Every step since then had been pure survival. Until his foot hit something hard, he fell forward, hands scraping hot sand. And that's when he saw it, metal. Not a part of a machine, not some alien tech. A sword, ancient, rusty, with strange symbols carved into it that shimmered slightly in the harsh sunlight. It looked useless, but something about it felt solid. Real that, so he picked it up. You're not much to look at, he muttered, sliding it into his belt. But you're better than nothing. What he didn't know was that people had been searching for that sword for 20 years. And now, just by holding it, he'd become part of a story that was supposed to be over. That same day, the wind kicked up and something shifted behind him. Darren turned, instincts firing. 12 figures were approaching over the dunes. Warriors, tall and lean, their green skin wrapped in leathers marked with the same symbols as the sword. They carried spears and moved with quiet precision. Darren gripped the sword, ready to go down swinging. But they didn't attack. They knelt. One of them, older, with eyes like molten gold, said something in a language Darren didn't understand. But the tone, the reverence, it was clear. They thought he was someone else. Someone important. I think you've got the wrong guy, Darren started to say. But before he could finish, the air changed again. Metal clanked. A new group appeared. Dark armor, snarling masks, crossbows ready. Sandor's hounds. Not the kind of people you reason with. The green warriors didn't hesitate. They rose and charged, hurling spears. The desert exploded into chaos. Darren dove for cover. Crossbow bolts zipped past. Screams. The hiss of blades. Blood in the sand that he had no stake in this fight. He didn't even know who was on whose side. But then a voice came from beside him. Move if you want to live. He turned and saw her. Sharp features, sand-colored cloak, eyes that burned like coals. She didn't wait. She just ran. Darren hesitated for half a second, then followed. She led him through narrow canyons, using the terrain like it was part of her body. She moved with purpose, with knowledge. Darren kept up because that's what he did, stay alive. When they finally stopped, the suns were low, casting long shadows across the dunes. What the hell was that? He asked, panting. She didn't answer right away. Just studied him. My name is Syra, she said finally. And you just stepped into a war. Darren didn't care about a war. He wanted water, a way off this burning rock. But Syra looked at him like he was something more than a man crawling out of the desert. They think you're the heir, she told him. To what? To Ashar. To the throne. That sword is the blade of ancestors. Last seen in the hands of Emperor Tyrant before he was murdered by Sandor. They think you're his son. He laughed. I'm a mercenary, raised in the outer colonies. I've never even been to Ashar. But she wasn't laughing. Then how did you find the sword? How did you understand a few of the words that old warrior said? And why did the Hearst one glow when you touched it? He didn't have answers. Just a dry throat and a head full of confusion. They made camp in a cave that night. Shared a little water. A small fire lit up the strange carvings on the walls. History, maybe. Warnings. Darren didn't know. But Syra did. She knew this world in a way he never could. She told him how Sandor had ruined Ashar. How he'd gutted the planet to fuel his war machines. How the deserts had spread, swallowing cities and farms. How the Shur had fought back, little by little, holding on to hope with bleeding fingers. That sword, she said, was their symbol. Their prophecy that he wanted to walk away. Let someone else carry that weight. But something about Syra's story, about the way her voice trembled when she talked about her family being slaughtered, made it harder to turn away. They kept moving. The desert didn't give them a break. Burning heat by day, freezing winds by night. A sandstorm nearly buried them alive. Hyena-like beasts attacked during twilight. But Darren fought, the sword in his hand like it belonged there. His body moved on instinct, the blade cutting through air and flesh with ease. Siren noticed. "You fight like you were born with that sword," she said one night, wiping blood from her knife. Darren shrugged. "I fight to survive. That's all." They reached the sure refuge on the third day. Hidden deep within a cliff-ringed valley, the place was green alive. Water shimmered in a lake. Trees with thick leaves offered shade. Children played. Elders watched. Everyone paused when Darren walked past. They whispered. Then they bowed. He tried to explain. "I'm not who you think I am." But the old woman who met him smiled like she'd waited a lifetime for him. She placed a glowing stone in his hand. It pulsed warmly. "In your blood, the truth remembers," she said. It rattled him. Was this real? Was it just coincidence? Then they showed him the carvings. The story of Ashar. The rise and fall of empires. The last emperor handing off his infant son to a cloaked figure. A sword buried in the sand. And the return of the heir. Darren stood in that cave, staring at the wall, feeling like something was shifting inside him. "Still," he said, "I'm not Taran's son." "Maybe not," Syra replied. "But you picked up the sword. You stayed. That means something." Then the warning came that Sandor's army had found them. And they weren't sending scouts anymore. They were sending everyone. The valley scrambled to prepare. Darren found himself taking charge, organizing defenses, planning retreats, setting traps. The Shur listened, trusted him, like he already was their leader. He didn't ask for it. But he didn't back down either. At dawn, the army arrived. Black armor, crossbows, war machines rumbling over the sand. And at the front, Sandor, towering, armed, unstoppable. The battle was chaos. Screams, fire, blood. But the Shur held. Darren fought beside Syra, the sword flashing, guiding, protecting. It didn't feel like just metal anymore. It felt alive. Then he saw Sandor, and something clicked. He pushed forward. Through the fight, through the noise. The tyrant laughed when he saw him. "The lost prince," he sneered. "Or just a fool with a rusty toy." They fought, blow after blow. Sandor was strong, brutal, but Darren had speed. He had something else too. Rage, purpose, belief. Whether he was born into it or not, he carried the weight of a world on his shoulders. In the final clash, Darren stepped inside Sandor's guard, took a hit to the shoulder, and drove the blade under the tyrant's arm. Sandor dropped, and the battlefield froze. The Shur began to chant. A name Darren had never heard before. Darren Carr. Darren the Returner. The enemy broke. Ran. Surrendered. Ashar was free. For now. But freedom isn't a finish line. Darren didn't take a throne. He didn't wear a crown. He helped rebuild. Brick by brick. Life by life. Syra stood beside him, partner in all things. Together, they built a council. United the scattered people. Fought off the remnants of Sandor's forces. Planted crops. Dug wells. Restored what had been lost. Maybe he was Taran's son. Maybe not. But he was Darren Kell. And he had chosen to stay. And in the end, that choice changed everything. The years passed, each one pulling Ashar further from the darkness of Sandor's reign. Darren Kell became more than a mercenary. He became a symbol. Not of royalty, not of destiny, but of choice. A reminder that heroes weren't born. They were forged, often from the least likely of people. Under Darren's watchful guidance, villages thrived where sand had once buried dreams. Wells sprang from the earth, green fields spread, and the Shur found their voices again, retelling their histories, reclaiming their pride. Syra stayed beside him, fierce and unwavering. She became the keeper of stories, ensuring that their people never forgot the cost of freedom. One cool evening, many seasons after the final battle with Sandor, Darren stood atop a hill overlooking the valley they'd saved. Children laughed near the lake. Elders tended fires, and the soft hum of evening conversation filled the air. He felt peace in a way he'd never imagined possible. "What are you thinking?" Syra asked softly, joining him. He smiled. "About how strange life is. I picked up a rusty sword, and now you're home." She finished gently. Home. The word resonated deeply within him. Darren had spent so much of his life drifting, running, fighting. Now, standing beside Syra, looking out over the place they'd built from dust and blood, he knew this was where he belonged. But peace was never truly permanent. News arrived one dawn. A visitor cloaked and mysterious had come from the outer colonies, asking for Darren by name. Curiosity piqued. He met the stranger at the edge of the village. Darren Kell, the figure spoke, voice rough from years of hardship. "Who are you?" Darren asked cautiously. The stranger removed the cloak. Scars covered his face, his hair silvered by time. But the eyes, those eyes were familiar. Haunted, but strong. "My name is Arden," the man said. "I knew your mother. She sent me to find you when you were just a child. I've searched the stars for years, following whispers and ghosts." Darren felt a chill. "My mother. She wanted you hidden, protected. Far from Ashar, far from Taran's fate. But destiny, it seems, has its own plans." Cyrus stepped closer, hand resting on her blade. "Why come now? After everything that's happened?" Arden sighed deeply, weary from the weight of his journey. "Because the story isn't finished. Sandor was just a pawn. There are darker powers, forces pulling strings beyond our sight. Ashar was only the beginning." Darren exchanged a heavy glance with Syra, understanding passing silently between them. He'd chosen to stay, to rebuild, but perhaps his fight wasn't truly over yet. "What do you need from me?" Darren asked, steeling himself against the unknown. Arden reached into his cloak and revealed something wrapped carefully in faded cloth. "This belonged to your mother. She said you'd know what to do when the time came." Darren took it, heart pounding. Slowly, he unfolded the fabric. Within lay a medallion, metal worn smooth by countless hands, engraved with the same symbols as the blade of ancestors. It glowed faintly as he touched it. "Another piece of the puzzle," Syra whispered, watching the symbols shimmer. Darren nodded, determination rising within him. "Then we'll solve it. Together." The wind stirred gently around them, whispering through the valley as the suns rose higher, illuminating Ashar in a new light. Darren knew the journey ahead would be long, fraught with uncertainty, danger, and sacrifice. But he wasn't afraid, because this time he wasn't alone.